IVM.
Alright, Simplified is where they take stories that you can't understand and make it even more difficult to understand. If you need that in your life, it's called marriage. Simplified, 3 young men with a mission. Their names, Chuck, Naren and Sriket. That's right, simplify their names first. Simplify. New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app or wherever you get your podcast from. कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen yaar, don't be so conservative. Okay, still at it. Here at lockdown 0.7772 or something. I've lost count. But we're not fully open. We're slightly open. I think of myself as a young virgin. I'm ready, but not ready. That's where we are at the moment. But my rant before I introduce Nishad is on the fact that the walkers in the terraces next to mine, I work out in the morning at 6 and I see all the walkers on terraces. The moment there's a hint of rain or grey clouds, they disappear. I ask you and urge you walkers, you have the hearts of squirrels. Please don't come out at all right? If every little drop of rain or dark cloud is going to scare you. It just, for me, it sets a very good example of why walking is futile and stupid. It's not a form of exercise. It's just a social convention. So don't bother. Okay, if you're going to stay indoors for 9 days and then come out when it's slightly sunny, I see no point in your entire venture towards exercise. So walkers be damned. If I was a fascist military leader, I would have you all shot. And that from the confines of my terrace, where I can see all of you doing sweet F all.
Entertainment is like food for the brain. It's a window to culture and a great way to understand the world around us. The internet has changed what it means to be an entertainer, creating new storytellers with millions of fans. It has spawned a new breed, the story-sellers, those behind the scenes creating the business for this ecosystem. They work with brands, platforms and channels who are keen to capitalize on an audience hungrier than ever for more stories. I'm Vineet Kanabar, and I have a ringside view to how stories are told and sold. On my show, I bring you creators, artists, executives and marketers for a freewheeling conversation around the business of entertainment. Tune in to Storytellers and Storysellers for personal stories, analysis and criticism every Thursdays as I talk to the brightest minds telling or selling great stories today.
We have a guest, someone I really like a lot actually. In fact, before I introduce him, I have to explain to you my marital issues. My wife hates it when I find what I call a cricket diwani. You know, a real pagal, nut, mad. You know, people like me, our tribe is actually not that big. There are lots of cricket lovers across India, but there are not so many who are such pure cricket lovers that everything in your life, every ramification, every confabulation, every permutation comes through a cricket point. And that only happens when it's immersed into your system, like the great Pepsi, my most favorite drink of all time because I endorsed the product for 4 years and they paid me money, said, we eat cricket, we drink cricket, we think cricket, without cricket we're nothing. And those 4 months of suffering separated the boys from the men. People like me and Nishad, you kept me alive, Nishad, as I introduced you here. I want to first tell you were oxygen to me, sending me those, see, I'm an old man. I'm tech challenged. I'm challenged in many ways, as you can tell from this podcast. But you kept me alive with all those old videos and suddenly realized, man, forget the live sports. There's hope. When I'm watching Viv Richards bat again or Gary Sobers or some footage of Stan McCabe, I mean, it was amazing the kind of stuff that we got together. So thanks to YouTube, thanks to your ability to be versatile under pressure, we were able to survive the worst. I hope that was the worst. I hope the worst is not to come. Parts of the lockdown and still get some cricket out of it. But now let me introduce you. As usual, I've spoken for 15 minutes without the guests getting a look in. Nishad is a very interesting man, obviously a cricket diwani, but he's a cricket professional. He's worked in all aspects of cricket. He's a statistician. He has the mind of an elephant. He remembers which ball seemed the other way from Dilip Doshi in 1980 at Sydney, which over number 16, which no one else can do. So before you had Google and all these base of time products, we had the human Googles, and he's one of those. I think the Indian mind is the best when it comes to that. We'll explore that. That's only one facet of his personality. He loves the game. He's worked in marketing. He's worked, correct me if I'm wrong, Gujarat Lions. You were the media manager. You were the PR manager. You were sort of de facto marketing and sales manager by the end. And you were physiotherapists and psychiatrists to the players. You worked with different sports bodies. You worked across the world. Thanks to your love of cricket and your knowledge of cricket, you were able to see the entire world. And the cricketers know you by first name, many of them. And for me, that's just, growing up like a middle-class boy in South Mumbai. You grew up in Dubai. I mean, the fact that, I don't know, you walk and Shane Warne says hello to you by name or something. It's just ridiculous. Sachin Tendulkar knows who you are. I mean, how the hell does that happen? That's just a fabulous feeling. So, welcome to this very long introduction, Nishad. And now I will give you the floor for half an hour while I quickly scratch myself, a la Srikanth, a la Sachin Tendulkar. Both great scratchers and great players.
Thank you, Cyrus. As always, great to be chatting with you. And don't worry about the introduction. I quite enjoyed it. But talking about being a psychiatrist and everything, it was quite interesting towards the end. But all in all, it's been a great, great journey in the sense that, you get to meet people who you have looked up to, people who you think are heroes. And then after a while, when you meet them, you realize they're just as human as you, just that they've worked really hard at something they love and got to the stage that we all dream of. So it's been a phenomenal learning experience more than anything. All these years working in different capacities, knowing a lot of these stars, and yes, interacting with them across the board.
All right, so we do this like a biopic, like I tell most of the guests here. Well, it's very fascinating to see, and in a way, it's a therapeutic for you to look at your own life for a minute and go back and see how it all, came to this path. Of course, you're still very much in the middle of your work in progress, and who knows where you'll reach. Chairman of the board, I hope one day BCCI will be better for it. Maybe ICC head, who knows where you'll end up. But I want to just chart your journey because there are lots of guys who love cricket, like you mentioned at the beginning. There are lots of people who are passionate about the game, who think about it. I know courtroom boardrooms where, the crazy mad cricket lovers quietly in the most auspicious meeting still keeps that, television on mute because he can't take his eye off the game. And I think in that we are a kindred spirit. There's a group of people who just, let's face it, it's just never going to leave us. It's like a cancer if you want to look at it negatively. So let's go back. Firstly, you're a boy from Goa who grew up in Dubai. Let's go right back to the beginning.
Yes, thanks to my dad's various career moves, we got to move around a bit. So, lived most of my early life in Mumbai.
Was that a sarcastic thanks to my dad, or was it thanks to my dad as a matter of fact?
No, it is a matter of fact, actually.
Fair enough.
Because then we did go to Dubai and I spent a lot of my crucial years there.
Active.
But, and funnily, I didn't watch even a single game at Sharjah.
What are you saying?
Yes.
How dare you? Get off the podcast. You fraud. How can you say this? Really? I can't believe that. Why?
Yes. So Sharjah, as we remember at that time.
This is the 90s, I would...
the late 90s, yes.
Sorry. I'm just trying to remember who the cricketers would be at that point. So we look at this still the Tendulkar era for India.
Yes. And I remember the first tournament in Sharjah when we moved to Dubai. It was a tri-series. It was between India, England and Pakistan. And India went through to the final, and against Pakistan, they got bowled out for 120. And
Maninder Singh.
No. That was 1984. This was in the late 90s.
What am I saying? 19?
So, but then I still remember Dad saying at the break, we were watching the game at a friend's house, and cable television was very difficult to come by in Dubai at that time. It was quite expensive. So I didn't watch live cricket for my first 2 years in Dubai. So used to go to a friend's house to watch. And I remember my dad saying in 1984-85, we beat them when Kapil Dev and all these guys were around, and we defended 120. Possibly it will happen again. Yeah. But then when you've got a Saeed Anwar on the other side who loves batting against India.
Who has made more runs in an innings than 25, yeah.
Yes, and they just won it quite easily. But Sharjah as such, at that time, was known to be a bastion for Pakistan fans.
What was their record right towards the end? It would be 80-20 in their favour against India?
Possibly a little bit less skewed than that because India did win the odd game. In fact, in that same series, they had won a game earlier in the tournament. And even in 96, when Navjot Singh Sidhu, you may remember, went ballistic at Amir Sohail. Yes, exactly. And that was one of the games they won. But Sharjah was...
You cut in, but as a segue, Navjot Singh Sidhu has changed avatars many times. From the slow, stoic bat that Clive Lloyd discovered, and then going all the way down to the comedian, the judge, the minister in one party, the minister in another party, the cabinet minister in a third party. So, very interesting reinvention. We must discuss him at a later point in this program if we have time. So, back to Sidhu coming and blasting everybody left, right and center.
Yes, so obviously I had watched a lot of cricket, but my earliest memory of cricket was the Hero Cup. back here in India.
Anil Kumble?
Anil Kumble and Sachin bowling the last over. Yes. The semi-final and the final.
When he took the ball. Oh, Sachin was... People have forgotten what a tiger Sachin was, no? How quickly did he get? He was like warrior. I mean, heart out. Give me the ball. He's no bloody Dennis Lilly. He took the frigging ball from 5 leading bowlers. And said apparently he refused to let anyone bowl. And yes, I'm told one or two people backed off. We won't take names.
No, we should not. And as well as we must remember, he asked the wicketkeeper to stand back for the last ball because he expected an inside edge, and that's exactly what happened.
Yes. So we all thought that initially that he was trying to be a little arrogant, like I'm that quick of 3 steps.
Yeah, and then I must say that there was a phase where cricket was a little traumatic because it was all about Sanat Jayasuriya and Saeed Anwar smashing India all over the park in the 96 World, and Aravinda De Silva as well. For some reason, for me, Aravinda also gave me a lot of scars as a child. But then...
What a batsman. Oof.
Oh, my favorite Sri Lankan batsman even now.
We're going off point for a second. I want to remember your perspective all the time, okay? We're just enjoying as two cricket lovers these memories. So you're, what, about 12, 13 growing up in Dubai at this point, looking at all these matches on TV, not so much in stadiums. But what was your connection with life? Were you going to get anywhere close to cricket? No.
So I was quite a nerd in school, I must confess. Used to love studying, used to love topping, was a bit plump, being a typical Dubai baby and eating all the chips, chocolates, ice creams that were available.
Now, what's wrong with that, brother? The one time you should endorse it. By the way, I love Dubai. I'm one of those guys who's a big fan of the city-state if you want.
Oh, I love it. I love it completely. I still feel at home whenever I go there. And then one of the first series I actually fell in love with cricket was when England toured India in 2001. And it was Nasir Hussain's England team that had come here. And that competitive test series, Ashley Giles bowling outside the on the rough outside the leg stump to Sachin Tendulkar. And that's when I actually picked up the game. Up until then, cricket was just thereabouts. It was something that, you sort of like, but not
you played?
I played a little. I played very little. Wasn't very fit.
Were you a leg spinner?
Leg spin, no. I mean, I used to try to bat. And because our cricket coach used to make us bowl as well, so I thought off spin was the more easier of the lot. But then that's when actually cricket really grew for me in 2002, and then the 2003 World Cup, watching Sachin Tendulkar and the Indian team make a comeback after the way Australia battered India in the first round. And just the way they made a comeback through the tournament. And that's when I really got hooked to cricket. And I must tell you one story which tells you my passion for cricket when my parents really felt that now cricket's really seeping into his blood is when I remember mom coming to wake me up one morning and telling me I'm getting late. And she's like, instead of saying that wake me up after 5 minutes, I told her, Mom, come and wake me up after 4 overs.
Ooh. Yes. But in those days, they would finish you over in 4 minutes, depending on who was bowling, of course, and what conditions.
I said, come and wake me up after 4 overs because I think I was dreaming and I was playing in the dream or watching a game. So that's when...
Sorry, who was your favorite in those days as an adolescent young male? Who was your big? Was it Sachin or was it somebody ahead of that?
Just before Sachin, in fact, I must say it was Azhar. I used to love his style. Wow. And even whatever little gully cricket I used to play,
of God. Huh.
Oh, the wrists, and I used to actually get my locket out. I used to wear my locket and I used to bat every time, unfailing.
Character and oof, really. Yeah, and no fuss, just there and tak, that mid-wicket shot of his. Oh, I can see it right now. Unbelievable.
Yes, and getting the collar up as well. Let's not
collar up. Yes, when he was skinny, it was it really stood out. As he filled out a little, you didn't see it so much. But as a thin man, just those wrists and that collar and the locket. You're right. I could do a Hindi film right now. Superb. Who should we cast? Questions. So let's get back. So Azhar was the first hero that you remember. Then you go to the Sachin era. Of course, they cross eras. But coming to 2003 around, you're still a guy who's watching cricket, and you're what? You're going to be an MBA. You're going to be an accountant. What are you going to? Let's hear the typical middle class Dubai story. I mean, it's going to be 5 degrees by 2010.
And interestingly, yes, because I saw my dad come up from very modest beginnings. I mean, life wasn't obviously very easy, but he had made his way up. He was an engineer.
He negotiated the bowling first couple of hours, like Bradman says in The Art of Cricket. He kept the ball outside the off stump and he watched his off stump, and so it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy, but then...
I just want to have fun with this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. And then I must say he milked the middle overs very well.
And
just working it around and then
playing in the V mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, having the odd slog. But having seen that, the influence was obviously that my dad did it and has done whatever in life because of being an engineer and an MBA. That's something I should do. Even I wanted to be an engineer. So those.
But did they suggest that to you, or it's just the way it is? Were you told that, beta, this is what you have to do? Or?
No, in fact, my parents have always allowed me the freedom. And my dad, I still remember earlier when I was really young, he used to tell me, just because I'm an engineer, you don't have to be one. And obviously,
Did you answer that there's this one engineer who's a wicketkeeper batsman for India?
Oh, he was a leg spin bowler as well. Anil Kumble.
No, I'm talking about Farooq engineer.
No, I was
talking about my childhood.
I'm talking about the real engineer.
Yeah. Well, there are many. Isn't Srinath also an engineer?
Srinath, yes, I think, yes.
Yeah. God, what a waste of seats here. You have that much cricketing talent. How dare you take a seat? Sorry, back to the Nishad story. Huh?
Yes, and then cricket was definitely something that used to capture my mind. I used to just love, even when the Australia tour took place in 2003-04, loved waking up in the morning and watching, especially the Adelaide Test match.
So Michael Clarke took the wickets in Mumbai in the same series?
Michael Clarke took the wickets in 200004. This was in 2003 when India went down.
India went Australia, you're talking about.
And won at Adelaide, and then Tendulkar's 241 at Sydney.
Yeah, the way he played only on one side of the wicket.
One side of the wicket, cut out the cover drive.
What? This is what I miss in cricket, Nishad. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the fact that that Mike Atherton versus Alan Donald, that attritional batting, Sachin Tendulkar saying, okay, that's it. I just won't play on the offside. I'll just wait for the ball to come towards middle and leg. And to have that kind of discipline against great bowlers on decent wickets. I mean, I don't know whether we have those batsmen anymore. Watching the live cricket that we've got now in England, the batting is not looking that great from any side at the moment for me. I know Ben Stokes played a flyer against West Indies in the second test, but other than that, I don't see this attritional batting. It's just going to disappear, is it, you think?
It's probably just a phase, because we've always had phases in the game where you see one art maybe...
Who will bat for Nishad's life right now? Give me three names. Honestly.
Currently.
Yes. Who can bat all day, like a Rahul Dravid, like a Mike Atherton, like a Tendulkar when he wants to switch to that gear, like a Chris Tavare, Jeff Boycott, Larry Gomes. I mean, there's so many going back. Gavaskar could do everything. Vishwanath also, if he wanted to.
So, if in the current era I have to pick, firstly I'll pick Kane Williamson.
Good choice.
Cheteshwar Pujara. Because, I mean, if you want someone to bat for 500 balls, he can do that for you.
Yeah, he'll do it in the T20 also. Poor guy. I'm a big fan. I shouldn't say that. I think he was the unsung soldier when Virat knocked off all those centuries in Australia last time round. He was the guy who set everything up all the time. But anyway, it is what it is.
Yes. Sorry. And then going back, I remember coming back to India in 2004 and, being in a boarding school. And that's when whole thing about cricket just built. And I also discovered at the time that I had a very good memory. So I used to look at the match, I used to look at something, I used to read cricket articles, I used to remember. And it just stayed. And sometimes I surprised myself as well. So, because I remember there was also a booklet that had come in Dubai during the 2003 World Cup by Gulf News, and it was all the squad statistics, facts for the World Cup. And I remembered even what the Dutch players were up to. Like, I knew what the likes of Tim Deleder, Roland...
You realize that's a slightly racist comment. By using the single word even, you've given a racist spin to it, my friend. Dutch lives matter. Stop it.
But then just learning about all that, and then I discovered I really remember. And
so you want the guy in the group. I just presumed that Nishad, you'd have been the guy in the group who you turn to for the... we all had that. The BB Mama of our group. So when in a group of guys, when you're chatting and having an argument, yeah, Chetan Sharma, there's Nishad, how many wickets did he get in 86 against England? 14, straight away. So yes. Weren't you that guy?
I was that guy after around 14 or 15. And because it takes time to build your knowledge, to read stuff.
It's a terrible trait for women, huh? Your social life goes nowhere with this attitude. Remember that?
Yes, I know that. I'm fair enough. I've borne the brunt of that as well.
Yeah. All the greatness in statistics means to poor figures on that wicket, is it?
No, it's just that you remember what argument.
God, the arrogance of Nishad Pai. I'm putting it down, bro.
It's just that you remember what argument took place on what day at what time, and you can use it. Oh yeah, and you can use it against.
You're the grudge king of the world. You're the worst friend ever. I can just imagine the girl. She'll have a chance because you remember who paid for it. I mean, oh God, oof, that's terrible. It's almost like a curse then.
Yeah, sometimes it's a blessing. Sometimes it's not so helpful because you do remember facts a lot more than others. But then I think the real I remember in boarding school when I used to play and I did make it to the school team and used to really fight it out. Didn't have much of the talent, but it was just that I wanted to be there. One of the things that I used to do, I remember when someone else's matches used to go on, I used to actually sit and just, take a piece of paper, hold it, like roll it around, hold it like a mic and just commentate as if, he works it around for a single to the leg side. And there it is.
Would you put on an accent or would you be impersonating a commentator or just be yourself?
No, just would love to be myself. Just try to understand the way I would speak. And because I used to also excel in elocutions and debates. So it was always about me trying to get the best out of whatever I had. And growing up, you obviously had idols like Harsha Bhogle sir, and who I've had the privilege of knowing over the last few years as well. So just to look at him and to learn from him was also an experience in itself. And around then you started entertaining thoughts like maybe, instead of there is a world beyond engineering, the IITs, IIMs, and the race that everyone wants to get into, maybe there is something different that you would like to do. And you just start entertaining thoughts then. But yeah, it was still on a very conventional path that I was still in at school.
So can I tell you my story on the same subject? So I used to go to the balcony with my cricket bat, my county cap, because I love the Richards' county cap. So I didn't have a red one. I used to wear a blue Indian one. And I would keep that on. And I would shadow bat and do the commentary, complete commentary with different commentators and everything, until my parents and my sister would scream. They would be like, enough. They would be like Roberto Duran and marvelous Marvin Hagler. No mas. Can't take it anymore.
And don't tell me you used to do it through the night as well.
Yeah. On Saturday, the whole day and night, till the time they couldn't take it anymore. Because I can't tell. I'm thinking, I would go 6-7 hours, stop for lunch and go back. I'd play a whole test match. I would just, the whole thing. And I would be very detailed, David Garr now, bringing the fielders in. And let's see what Bob Willis will do here. He turns in, steams in. It's Bob Willis, right arm over the wicket. And Border goes back and across. There's going to be a LBW. He's given out. I do all that crap. Then I celebrate. Then I become the cricketers. I become the commentators. Man, Nishant, we are sick people. We are sick people. We need our own country. This is not a good time to mention it. We need a separate country for us so we can misbehave. I'm sure you've gone through this. When you meet people who really like cricket and you just see how the crowd thins around you, because the others don't have the passion. Or the madness, or maybe it's both, or I don't know what it is. But, it's like how we bonded over the Legends tournament that was stopped midway. You don't really know how time passes when you're with a guy and you're discussing the game and stuff like that. It's just so much fun.
It is great fun when you meet people like who have the same likes and the same passion for cricket, because it's so difficult to find someone else with that kind of dying passion for the game, who will remember every detail, who lives and breathes the sport, and that is what really keeps us going, because I think the passion is like a fuel. And then you need to make it work for you so that you can do something out of it. And in that measure, I think cricket as such, the way it is in this country, is definitely something that inspires a lot of people.
Okay, Nishant, sorry, I have to get back to your story because then we'll just take off and discuss the game. So you now have an idea. You're looking at role models like Harsha, and you've got a sort of idea that there's a chance of working there. But how do you get a break? How did a boy with a sort of engineering dream suddenly get a break in this world of sports? I mean, you're the first generation of people who've come from outside, in a sense, and got into the sports game, who are non-cricketers, non-sportsmen.
So the engineering foray was really bad, because in 11th and 12th I used to fail in physics, chemistry and maths. So that's when I realized this is not for me. Failing in all the important subjects.
Oh my God, I wouldn't design any bridges after that in Mumbai or any of the other stuff. We've had a few faulty works going around, yeah.
No, that's when I decided to switch to law.
Oops. Ouch. Okay. So engineers' loss was the legal fraternity's gain. So did you do your law degree?
I completed my law degree from the National Law University, Jodhpur, which is one of the premier institutions in the country, actually. And getting a good rank, going over there and still being obsessed by the game. And that was something that really made me stand out in college. And people there used to actually feel I was really mad. I was really crazy, to the point that they felt something was wrong with me. But I remember midway through law school, I used to go for an internship with a lawyer who used to work at Bombay High Court. And I remember I used to reach early in the morning and I used to fall asleep. My excuse used to be that I've just woken up. After lunch, again, I used to fall asleep because I used to say I just had lunch. So law was not working, definitely not working. And that's when I realized I had to do something about.
You have no idea what the statement you just made works on so many levels. The law is not working. Law is just not working. All right. I stand by that statement. Who was the lawyer? Can you tell us?
No, I think not really famous, but
okay.
Yeah, but he worked at the Bombay High Court, and although he was nice to me, but I think even he realized that this guy doesn't have it in him to do something in the legal field.
But it's amazing. You've just hit something very important here. People don't pick this up. Talking about cricket, you're alive.
Yes.
If you sleep 3 hours and then you have to report on it at 5 a.m, you'll still do it. There'll never be a sense of tiredness. But when you're doing anything else, it's mundane. I think that's the secret, isn't it? That that's your thing. Because there's no equation to tiredness, really. I mean, we've all done it, staying up all night or getting up early morning to listen, hear, watch. You're doing it professionally, being around the circus of cricket. So I'm just thinking that's like a light bulb going up, isn't it, in the head for a second?
Yes, it did happen. That light bulb moment does happen. I still remember that at the time India was preparing for the 2011 World Cup, and my light bulb moment was when on my last day of my law internship, and that was the day I decided that this is the last time I'm stepping into a law firm to work. I hope I never have to step into a law firm to hire someone, but it's the last time I'm stepping into a law firm to work. And later I decided I've got to do something about it. I remember telling my mom, dad that, I really want to explore. And they were like, just think about it because you still have got half your law school life left. And we just want you to be happy. And in that sense, my parents' support was very critical. They've supported me every step of the way. The turning point came when I went back to college after that. And it was my sixth semester, early 2011. The World Cup was coming about. India were in South Africa. They were playing an ODI series. And I had an old cricket blog. And I decided, let's revive it and write every day about the game. And I told my mom and dad, look, I'll go mad here. I need some extra money because I want to install a Tata Sky connection in my room in the hostel.
And you must be the only one.
Only one on my floor, yes. And I installed a Tata Sky connection. I moved to the top floor of the hostel because then I could be closer to the dish, and installed the dish outside. Bought a TV tuner card. We didn't have OTTs that day, obviously, so we had to get a TV tuner card, connect the Tata Sky, and then connect the TV tuner card to the computer. And the 2011 World Cup began. And as luck would have it, everything just fell into place because that's when I found my mentor who was Mr. H. Natarajan. He used to work with Indian Express earlier. And at the time, he was the executive editor of a website called cricketcountry.com, which was owned by Zee and an American company as a joint venture. And they were looking for young bloggers to write. And I just wrote to him and I said, can I write for you? And he's like, yes, you can write, but there will be no pay. That no pay part didn't matter at the time. I was like, I just need to get my articles in. And I used to send him my blog and I used to keep sending him articles. And finally, I still remember March 4th, 2011, a day after, I think, Ireland had beaten England, if I'm not wrong, at the 2011 World Cup with Kevin O'Brien smashing it all over. I'm not too sure. I think that's the date. March 3rd, they may have beaten. But March 4th was my first ever article. And life changed after that. And I still remember my uncle getting a World Cup final ticket. I came down from the university. I came down to Mumbai. I had a test. I bunked the test and I came to Mumbai. And the professor who was taking the test met me at the gate when I was leaving to come for the World Cup final. With bags. And he's like, where are you going? Tomorrow's the test. I said, sir, World Cup final.
Tomorrow's not the test, sir. Tomorrow's the One Day International.
So my professor is like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. You go. It was really nice of him to say that. And such was the craze that I remember me and my friends, we used to fast for the Indian team before the quarterfinal and semi-final.
Oh, my God.
And me being a hardcore Goan and a non-vegetarian, on those days of fasting, I decided when I break my fast, I'm going to have vegetarian food. So I used to break it with a traditional Rajasthani thali late in the night.
I mean, does the board even appreciate what all you have done? Your ultimate sacrifice as a human being, as a Goan, to let go of all the nutritious food that you like, and then to come back and break it auspiciously with vegetarian food. I bow to you, sir. I'm writing to Saurav Ganguly right now that you have to be elevated to number 2 position in the BCCI immediately. But so it all started with a blog. Let me just put this in place. It starts with a blog. You witnessed the World Cup final. India wins. Sachin goes across the Wankhede Stadium. And is it fair to say you're born again now as someone who's going to put his nose into cricket?
Absolutely. So I remember when I went for the World Cup final, I had published around 7 articles in the first month, which was good for me. For a guy who had 0 a couple of months ago on a recognized website, to have 7 was brilliant. I mean, I was damn happy. And I remember sitting in the World Cup final, MCA Pavilion, seat number J226. I still remember that. Seat number J.
Why it's tough to get women to like you? You see my point? You see what's going wrong here? My God, man. Okay, then.
So,
did you present the ticket?
I have the ticket and I got it signed by Sachin.
Wow. But much later, I presume.
A year later, yes.
Yeah.
And the 6 hit by MS Dhoni was just a few seats away from me. And I remember Tendulkar walking out. He's a childhood hero, the guy who's inspired you. And the whole narrative through that World Cup was that this guy has dreamt about it for years. And you want to do it for him.
This is for him.
And Sachin was lifted by his teammates right in front of me.
Iconic.
At the MCA Pavilion. And a 20-year-old guy, I used to think at that time, who can cry of happiness? And I still remember him being lifted, and I just started crying. I just sat down and slumped on my seat, held my face, and I just bawled for like 15 minutes.
I remember I had a similar reaction. I also was quite upset. But I also remember thinking, I hope he's wearing an abdi guard. He spread his legs across 2 shoulders. I think Yuvraj and Harbhajan, if I remember right. And, it was just a very dangerous position to be in. But just one word as we go into break on the final, since we brought it up. Gautam Gambhir, sort of forgotten in that whole list and that innings that he played.
Yes, because Gautam Gambhir's contribution, not just in that World Cup final, but that whole period from 2007 to 2011, it was phenomenal. He was the Test cricketer of the year when India became the number 1 Test playing nation. The knock in the final against Pakistan in the World T20, and of course the final when it was needed. When I still remember Malinga getting that wicket of Sehwag early, Gambhir walks in and flicks the first ball for 4.
That's the point I was trying to make, because against a run of play, he is able to turn things around slowly. And I thought that was a make or break moment for Sri Lanka. If they got the second wicket immediately after Sehwag, if they got one more, I think we would have been in big trouble, because then the momentum would have been fully on their side. And people forget the importance of that whole, he blunted the attack, so to speak, and then of course everybody else finished it after him. That's fine. But I think Gambhir should get a little bit more respect about the 2011 World Cup, the full World Cup, not just the final. We'll take a break. Nishad, we have sponsors who are paying me lots of money, but not yet. They'll come back and pay us later at some date, apparently. And then we come back, I want to trace the actual now journey where you become part of this pantheon, part of this entire universe of which we don't know, cricket from the inside. So stay where you are. The erotic, exotic, adult, pornographic material to follow after this break. Nishad Pai Vaidya, no relation of Prashant Vaidya. All this and more when we come back.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel.
And me, Tushar.
Every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.
We're back. There's no sponsor. We're waiting. We're hoping this show changes it. But Nishad, I mentioned Prashant Vaidya. Obviously no relation, right?
No relation. He's from Vidarbha.
But that doesn't, people can settle anywhere.
Exactly, but our main surname is Pai since we are from Goa, and Vaidya was added because of my ancestors' profession, which I think I've got enough right to change it to maybe, how does...
Khiladi?
Yeah, Pai Khiladi sound.
You can get Akshay to do your biopic as well. Okay, let's get serious for a second and go back to the big ride now. You had the emotional roller coaster with the World Cup, we win, blah, blah, blah. But you're writing a blog, okay? And nobody knows how serious these blogs are in terms of being appreciated and all yet, because it's a world that's just sort of being born. So how did you get into mainstream cricket admin, cricket marketing, cricket statistics? How did that all happen?
A few days later, after the 2011 World Cup, there was an IPL game between Deccan Chargers and Mumbai Indians on the 24th of April 2011. It was Sachin Tendulkar's birthday.
Yes. 2030 Shakespeare's birth and death anniversary. That's all I know.
And that was the day that changed my life. What happened was Sachin was batting against Amit Mishra, and he charged to Amit Mishra and played the ball in the air and was caught by, I think, Dale Steyn at long on or long off. Mm-hmm. The umpire asked Sachin to wait and said, I want to check the no ball. They went up to the third umpire and saw one of the angles from mid-wicket, and it showed that Mishra might just have overstepped. And then they checked the stump cam. Again, it looked. Now, the third umpire asked for another replay, I think. And this time, Mishra was properly behind the line. And I remember the commentator saying, yeah, he's fine. Let's get on with it.
So I don't get it. So one angle is showing he's overstepped, or the heel is up, is it?
Yeah. And that's the problem. The third angle, what people didn't realize was the guy at the non-striker's end was Sachin, not Ambati Rayudu, who was the non-striker, when Sachin faced the ball. Because if he had faced the ball, he would not have been at the non-striker end in the third frame. So it was possibly a replay from a previous delivery. Yes.
My God, IPL, hang your head in shame. So in the end, what was the result? He was given out.
He was given out, and I just noticed it, and I felt, look, there's something wrong, and I put it on my Facebook. And
nobody noticed Tendulkar in the background as non-striker, and Ambati Rayudu facing, obviously, so wrong delivery.
Yes, and I just wrote about it on Facebook, and people were like, no, nothing happened. And I was like, I was pretty sure something happened. And then my friend walks into my room, and he says, Nishad, this is the chance. You've been writing blogs. This is the chance where you get noticed. Something that shoots. Now, I didn't have that kind of a mindset. And this is a Delhi guy who knows how to show off.
Oh, Delhi guys are most important. They're the best in the marketing.
So he told me, this is the marketing string you've got to do. I said, bro, that's fine. But how do I really confirm it? So we had our internet from the college, and we didn't have the facility of YouTube. They block YouTube and a lot of other sites in college, as you know.
Stop there for a second. Dear Jodhpur University, stop blocking YouTube. Without erotic material, how do the kids advance? We need that.
We find a way.
I don't know what to do with my wife. I'm married 20 years. Please. Now, back to it. Yes.
Oh, then my friend, he had a dongle. He lent it to me. He said that you've got to check it out.
This is the same guy, Delhi guy.
No, another friend of ours.
Your pals have really contributed to this. So one came up with the idea, one came up with the machinery. Otherwise, please go on. Sorry, I won't interrupt.
So I put the dongle in, and I'm like, bloody hell, this is right. So I took a couple of screenshots, wrote the article, and forwarded it to my mentor, Mr. Natarajan. And it was at 3:30 in the morning. I had finished studying because exams were coming up, and I just went to sleep. Next morning, I wake up around 11:30, and my phone is flooded.
Wow, what is
I'm like, there are a lot of SMSs. First SMS is from my mom. I think she's noticed something. My dad has messaged me. Other people have messaged me. My boss has messaged me, my mentor. He's like, call me whenever you see this. Because he knew my exams were coming up and I studied till early in the morning. I call my boss. I'm like, oh God, have I screwed up or something? And he's like, Nishad, very well done. This is fantastic stuff. Our story is running page, like it's running on the main site. It's gone viral and news channels are picking it up. And there was a proper bio there called Nishad Pai Vaidya. There's a 20-year-old law student who loves the game. That was my bio. Yeah. And I remember since you've been associated with CNN, IBN, News 18. There was a cricket show with Gaurav Kalra, I think.
Of course.
And Sanjay was around and Shishir Hattangadi.
Shishir was for many years with us, yeah.
And Gaurav said, I think this, from what I've read, it was picked up by a 20-year-old law student. They didn't mention the name, but they said it was picked up by a 20-year-old law student. And Sanjay says, whoever that law student is, they should find him and they should reward him. And then...
Oh, shit, you should have recorded that clip, man.
But again, I didn't have the machinery. But funnily, that day was the final of my cricket tournament in college. And I top scored and I took 3 wickets and I was the man of the match, man of the final as well. So a very, very happy day.
It was a lucky day. But look, let's wait here for a second and linger on this whole point. I think this is the moment. The moment for you was just this great power of observation. And are you telling me that nobody, I mean, this is an IPL tournament which is now watched across the globe. It's not just watched in India. Nobody picked up Tendulkar on the non-striker side in that same shot. You were the only person who picked it up.
I still remember one Facebook comment from one of my school friends. He said even he noticed something.
No, but that's post you. I'm saying you're the one who broke the news in a sense.
Yes.
After that, everyone's wiser for the year. I mean, the moment you told me, I would have posted it if I was there at that point.
But I had the platform.
No, that's not. Don't be modest. The fact of the matter is that there are lots of people out there, professional correspondents, cricketers, the pundits. Sanjay, for example, was commentating. You know, they should have picked it up. So that's fabulous. I mean, the fact that you picked it up and that just changed your life. So did you get any official calls? What happened after that?
After that, I told my mentor, sir, I'm coming to Mumbai for my summer vacations. I don't want to intern in a law firm. Can I come and work with you? And he's like, yes, of course. It's all yours. Come and work. And but no money. So then for the next 2 years, I worked. Whenever I used to come back from law school, I used to go to Cricket Country Z's office and I used to work there, learn the nuances of journalism. And that's where it just started. And, it just picked up. But that was the time it really changed. And obviously, there were tough times as you enter into the final year of your law school. Your friends are going in for placements and I was being stubborn as to I'm not putting my hat in the ring. And my parents were supportive.
Confidence, it's so easy to say now. You're relating a story, but good confidence. I'm just thinking of our background, with education and the kind of parents all of us have. There's a certain similarity across India, the metros and how we are raised. For you to have the guts to say, and you did well. I mean, you're getting the degree, everything fell in place. For you to actually think that you could manage because there wasn't any clear path. All you knew is that you're good at observing and writing, but you didn't know where to go with it beyond the point.
Yes, I didn't, but there was a lot of faith. As a youngster, I remember one of my teachers saying that up until you graduate college, you can dream and dream big and, there's nothing to stop you. Just don't let that magic go away. And that's something that I always held. And I felt that, one of the moments that really, really had an impact on me was when Tendulkar was lifted. And that's when I actually realized that it is worth it chasing a dream. It is worth it going after something you really love.
And while your classmates were crying over girls, you cried over a 35-year-old man. Fair enough.
Oh, don't worry. Even I've cried over enough girls anyways, but my mom's listening. I don't want to talk anymore about it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yes. So
I think you're being a little modest about it, but I think that there's that more, it's like crossing the Rubicon for Caesar or, those kind of moments in a person's life where without knowing it all fit into place. You hit that right note. Your blog, it went viral. It went to another level. This is now a serious pundit. This 20-year-old kid has got something about him, the guys around you notice the quality. And then I think that helped your confidence a lot. Is it fair to say?
It did help my confidence a lot. And I remember one of the things that also helped my confidence was Shashi Tharoor used to tweet some of my articles.
What are you saying?
I used to tweet to him that, sir, this is something that may interest you. And he used to actually retweet it sometimes, but there were a couple of times when he wrote
would he correct the English and then do it?
I think that I would have had a long, long lesson in place.
Just look at how this game unites people, Here's a guy who was heading the United Nations almost, and then a prominent person in the opposition, also in the ruling party for a time. And then, leave all that aside and he and you could just hang out somewhere, have a beer and discuss the game. It's just a fabulous thing about sport. It's just amazing. So, sorry, again, I'm interrupting you. Please tell you, I want to see the growth. What happens next?
Then things were tough. I mean, even during the placement, there were doubts, but I was like, I want to do this. And
Mom, Dad? What did Mom, Dad say?
Mom, Dad were like, it's your decision. If you want that safety aspect, you can throw your hat in the ring, but whatever you do, we are with you.
I never said do that, keep that security thing of the law thing.
They suggested it, but they never said that this is what you should do. And for that, I give them...
That's amazing, man.
It's really amazing.
Sure. parents need to be like that, otherwise without those kind of parents, people can't go anywhere. They just straight jacketed for life. Sorry, and?
True. And there were a couple of times when I was really disheartened, maybe frustrated with writing, because writing was something that I liked but not necessarily enjoyed. It was more about talking about the game and being around the game. Something like I loved video presenting, but I hadn't got the chances yet. So YouTube was still growing at the time. There were a couple of times when I felt that, this is not, I can't go ahead. I can't do this anymore. And my mom and dad have actually talked me out of it. This was when I was in college. And the other incident that again inspired me was when I met Sachin first time face to face and I spoke to him. He was called to the Sahitya Sahvas and he was felicitated for his 100th International 100. And my friend, his grandmother was a poet who had a flat at Sahitya Sahvas. And my friend who was in law school with me was living there and doing his law internship. And he said, Nishad, Sachin is coming to my colony tomorrow. Just come. Just leave everything and come stay with me. After the ceremony, we'll have a couple of beers and pizza and we'll just relax. So I was like, okay. And I found my World Cup final ticket and I went. After the felicitation ceremony, people gathered around Sachin, but it was Sachin who was not Sachin the celebrity, but the kid who grew up in Sahitya Sahvas, because he was really at home and they treated him as if he was one of
the same residents were around and all that? I mean,
yes.
Same neighborhood?
Yes, same neighborhood. And one of them also said that, Sachin, I know that, a lot of the times you have to check your schedule, but we are one of the few people who can tell you, Sachin, come, and you actually just come. And you could just feel the bonds were still there. I sheepishly walked up to Sachin and I just gave him my World Cup final ticket. And he's like, he looks at it and his eyes just go up. I'm like, hi, I was there that day. He's like, oh, lovely. I mean, and he was really happy to see the World Cup final ticket. And I told him, do you remember last year's game between Tendulkar and between Mumbai Indians and Deccan Chargers?
You can call it Tendulkar. I accept that.
I was like, do you remember the game last year against Deccan Chargers when the wrong replay was shown? And he just looks at me. I said, I wrote the article about it. Oh, you were the guy who wrote the article. He knew about it. I was like, because I think Mumbai Indians had raised...
A great batsman remembers every dismissal, my friend. Don't you worry. And every controversy, huh?
And he's like, you were the guy who remembered. I was like, yes. And he's like, that's good work. And then he wished me and I told him, one of the days I do hope, I'm just starting my career. One of the days I do hope I get to interview you. And he says, yes, why not? And I just said bye to him. And by then I had my enough of starstruck quota. And I tell my friend, I've got to get out of here right now. And I just go away. I just said
where
bye.
Do you go after that? You met Sachin. Everything else is a downer after that. You might as well meet the watchman. There's nothing that's going to come after Sachin that's going to make you happier. But then what happened? How does it translate into getting a gig?
In a sense that I wrote about it again and I believed, more than anything I believed. I felt that it was always a dream to meet someone who has inspired me since childhood. And now that I had that opportunity, if there is something that I really want, it will be possible. My dream has always been to be on television talking about the game. And that dream materialized in September that year when just the stars aligned. It was the World T20 in Sri Lanka and my mentor, he told me, why don't you come down for a couple of weeks and work with us? We are starting a YouTube channel and you can make your on-camera debut. And I said, but I've got to complete my attendance in college. I used to attend college, no problems. It's another matter. I used to sleep on the last bench, but
many great lawyers have followed the same procedure and today charge 20 lakhs a day in the Supreme Court. Huh?
Exactly, yes. And some of them now I know they're doing very well in the Supreme Court. But then my mentor wrote a letter to my vice chancellor and said, can you give him attendance for these days because he's decided on a career here? And my vice chancellor just signed the letter and said, go.
See, all cricket lovers, this is the beauty of the game, all cricket lovers.
And I came down to Mumbai, I made my YouTube debut, and then the next day I get a call from Neo Sports. And they say, can you come tomorrow to our studio as a studio expert?
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Are you serious? And they're like, yes. And yes, we'd like to have you. Can you just come? We come at so-and-so time. We'll send a car and you come to so-and-so place. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And I go to Neo Sports. And from there on, it just flowed. RK was the host, and RK, who still is a friend, right. He's still a friend after all these years. He's seen me then as a 22-year-old walking into studio, and I was so starstruck. I was like literally tweeting, and I was sharing my Facebook status every minute that I'm now in the green room, I'm doing this. I've just changed my shirt. No, I don't have to change my pants because I think I have to wear my own. Yeah. And then I walk into the studio, and then I just remember people walking up to me, doing my touch up and everything, and I'm like, wow, like, is this a dream? I've got to pinch myself. Am I really dreaming? And as luck would have it, I always dreamt, like as a child, that I wanted to be a cricketer, walk out, and there would be people who would be
Nishad. What is it, Nishad Pai? Number 3 for India. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd just maybe raise my bat and crowd cheering.
Man, you're telling me. Oh my God, breaking my heart, man. I feel like a failure when I think about how we hope one day to captain the country. I just wanted to move the fielders, with my hand. I just love that, that sense of authority of being the captain. Sorry.
And now this weird guy from college who is going to be on television suddenly becomes a celebrity in college. And I'm not even kidding. My friends who really supported me through that, they organized a projector in the mess, and the entire college collected and they watched my show. And I'll tell you, when I had real goosebumps it was a dial-in show. So fans used to call in. And many of them were trying, and one of them called in, and she was my friend who didn't know a lot of cricket. And she calls in, and she actually called in just to embarrass me, but then she was really nervous. She just ended up saying, I agree with whatever Nishad says. And the camera panned on me because I knew what was going on. It was my friends who were messing around with me, and I had a very sheepish one.
You picked up her voice and they used the same first name and all that?
Oh, I didn't say anything because she could barely complete her sentence. And I remember RK saying, it is Shraddha from Jodhpur. And I'm like, oh God, please don't say something that's embarrassing. I know Shraddha can do something like that, but please don't do it. And it's another matter that my family felt that I was dating her at least for the next 1 year. But we were not.
An intriguing story from where to where.
I know.
But she did call you up while you're live on television for the first time, which you think would only be the real hardcore supporters.
Exactly. And when the call did connect, I could hear my entire college roaring. And that kind of roar that I always wanted, I could hear it on my earpiece. And again, that made me feel, look, whatever decision you've made, it's the right decision, and keep going. And that was the day when there was no looking back. After that, it was heavily invested into cricket. Mom and dad were extremely proud. I remember dad that day opening a champagne bottle, and because he said, obviously there'll be many more, but this is the first one and we've got to remember it. And when I go back to college now, people are looking at me in a different light, but the people who stayed by me always stayed the same.
Raju Bandya, gentleman.
Oh, yeah, Raju Bandya, gentleman. Yes, that's right.
Okay, Nishad, listen, we're running out of time. I want to quickly get into let's fast forward in 5 minutes and tell us, you worked with very different areas. You also got into the IPL. You actually almost ran the Gujarat Lions. I mean, de facto, if it's fair to say.
Again, that was...
The boy who ran it was 24 years old, Nishad, 1 year younger than you or something like that?
Yes, just a year younger to me. And it was quite fascinating, if I may use the word, because a young guy, running a team, and then me, someone almost equally young, but by then I had obviously covered a few world tournaments, which I'm very grateful for. But then I quit my job and I wanted to go freelance and wanted to do freelance anchoring, freelance content writing. And I'd written to Gujarat Lions, one of the IPL teams, that, I'll manage your content for the year. They came back with a better offer. They said, why don't you become a media manager? And I'm like, what? Okay, fine, let's do that. And I became a media manager, but what I remember is that I became a part of the team. The cricketers made me feel a part of themselves, and a lot of credit there to Suresh Raina, Dale Steyn, Brendan McCullum.
Okay, give us a little bit on them. Come on, just a minute. What is Dale Steyn like?
Oh, Dale Steyn has got this humor, which really scares you. A big guy, I mean, not very, he's quite lean, but he's powerful. He bowls at 145 clicks. Yeah, he's powerful. You don't want to mess with him. And I still remember getting into the lift, when I just got to know him, and I told him, Dale, there's an interview request for you. Can you do it? And he's like, there's no way I'm doing it. And I just froze over there. And Heath Streak was standing next to him.
Started laughing.
And they just burst out laughing, and Dale Steyn comes and hugs me, and he's like, dude, just I'll do it, I mean, come on, why won't I do it? And he's like, get used to this. Get used to us being, making you feel, us being playful.
Suresh Raina?
Suresh Raina was someone, the funny thing is that I've never spoken to Suresh Raina about cricket. we've always spoken about life and philosophy and stuff like that. I remember him reading a very heavy book, and I'd read that book, and I said, "Oh, who's reading this?" We were in the airport lounge, and Suresh is like, I'm reading it. He's like, "Wow, and then he asked me, have you read it?" I said, "Yes." "Has it made a difference to you?" I'm like, "It has made a big difference to me."
Do it yourself, help yourself books?
It was a spiritual book. And then he's like, good to know. And then whenever we've had conversation, it's been about family, it's been about life and about how we should be. And it's never generally been about cricket. At Max, I've always congratulated him on 100 or on a good...
Greg Chappell's favorite, huh? Greg Chappell said that was the face of the new Indian batting. Maybe he should have got a few more breaks in tests, I thought. Century on debut in Sri Lanka. Anyway, it is what it is again. But who else? Jadeja, Jaddu.
Jaddu is another guy who always comes across as reserved, but I found him to be one of the most fun people to be with. He was getting married in the middle of the season, and one of the things that I'll always remember is the way they made me feel at home. And Jaddu, I told him, congratulations on your wedding, and he's like, "Don't congratulate me now. You two are coming to my wedding." And when I went to the wedding, it was like he was genuinely happy to see me. And after that, it was just a friendship that grew. And I was really, really plump at that time. And I had, a lot of beer and a lot of fries and everything inside of me. And I remember Jaddu telling me, "Look, you're a young man. I'm telling you as an elder brother that I think you should look after your health, because, it's not whatever you're eating, whatever you're doing, it's not right. I think you should go to the gym, you should work out." And he said it in a way that I took it very seriously. I took it in a very nice way. And the next year when I met him, I had lost like 15 kilos. And he was the happiest to see me like that. So these guys always I've seen they have a very childlike side to them, but they also have something that makes them want really good for you. Brendan McCullum is again one of the most sorted people that I've met. He again has got a philosophy wherein he says that whatever you do, you enjoy it. The next year after Gujarat Lions, I got a better gig and I was working with the IPL, the central team, handling the media for them. And I remember one of the things that Brendan McCullum did ask me was, "Nish, are you enjoying doing this role?" And I said yes. And he told me, "You know what? That's the most important thing. Even whenever I play the game, it's about enjoying the game."
But I don't like him. Can I be honest? Because he took away Viv Richards' record. And I don't accept that. Okay? The 56 ball 100 that Richards made, if you remember, just in his last season, in his last game almost, he took away that record.
It was his last game, actually. It was his last
game. And so I want that record to be replaced. And then I'll be a McMillan fan again. I want him to return the record to the great Viv Richards and know his place as a good batsman who played for New Zealand and especially in the white ball. I know he has triple 100 in Test cricket, but he's not Viv Richards. So can I just have the record back? Please, Nishad.
Oh, yes, I should tell him that.
Pick up the phone, Nishad. Call the bloody IPL. All right. So where are we right now? We're running out of time. Where are we right now in terms of what you're doing? You've got a blog. Are you doing anything with the IPL in September if it does happen?
Let's see. I mean, I'm still waiting to hear. And let's see. I mean, fingers crossed, because these are very different times. We don't know.
You'll get to go home, in a sense. Dubai is your second home.
Yeah. In a sense, yeah. And but I obviously, because been doing a lot of freelance gigs over the years, one of them that I took up was with the Road Safety World Series, and that's where I met you. And that was really a fun experience. Never done that before because I always wanted to do something, be on camera and everything. Have been doing that consistently since the last World Cup, and now have my own YouTube channel, podcast, just trying to run that a little bit, just trying to get that going. I run a cricket quiz on weekends. So this lockdown has definitely brought about a few things, but we all have to wait and see how it goes,
So do we look at Nishad going forward more as a commentator, as a cricket pundit, as a guy who does a blog and tells it all, or as a sort of mentor for cricketers, working in the IPL, donning different hats? I mean, are you just playing all these roles, or is there one that you're going to specialize in?
One that I really want to do is presenting the game and talking about the game, because I think that's where I feel most comfortable and at home.
What's your take about only cricketers should be commentators? Do you accept that or you do not accept that?
I think we are missing out on a lot of talent in that sense if we are open to non-cricketers coming into the commentary box, because you do realize that you can present a question to the expert from the viewpoint of a fan. So the fan can actually connect more with someone who's not played cricket.
Also, we may love the game more.
Absolutely, yes.
And in many cases, I think we do.
Yes, and some of the names that we remember who have made a mark, the likes of John Arlott and obviously Harsha.
Emil Cardis, Harsha,
yes.
Suresh Saraya. I mean, so many names out there who are non-cricketers.
Anand Sitalwad. So we can just go on with different names. So I think it's just a phase, because at some stage there will be a resurgence. People will be coming back. In terms of presenting, definitely there are non-cricketers doing it. So I think at some stage we will see, the return. I should say
that two of the people who played a prominent role in a symbolic way, one is Manjrekar, okay, who said, "Who's this guy? Bring him out. He has to be in the front. He's got the eye for the game." And the other is Jadeja, who said, "Man, change your life. Become, look after yourself." And yet they have a little... You see the karmic theory here in play, the 6 degrees of separation.
Oh,
and it's all through you, brother.
Oh, God, I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Well, okay, we'll steer away from controversy. We'll have you on where we only talk about cricket. I wanted to talk about you, set it up, because what an interesting life it's been, Nishad. And the great thing about you is, and I hope this is a nice lesson, lesson's the wrong word, just a nice example for any youngster out there beginning their life, to not be scared. I think you've been quite fearless. You've been like Sehwag. You've just gone ahead and done whatever you wanted against all... the way we're brought up, thinking about, the law degree, before that engineering, maybe an MBA. You did what you had to do. You pushed it aside. You said, what the hell? There's no plan in place. But you're doing it. And, it's all going, touch wood, pretty well. You cleared, 25 crores last year with GST?
Well, I'd just say that there is one story that made an impact. And that was, I think, by Jack Canfield in one of the movies that, I think it was The Secret that he said.
Guy.
Yes, the chicken soup for the soul. And he said that when you're driving in the night from New York to San Francisco, and you don't have the street lights, you just have your headlights. You see the next part of the street, and then you see the next and next. I think life is a lot like that, and I decided to approach it that way. Just see the next step. The end goal.
System, one step at a time.
Yes, and that's what was the key to the fearlessness, plus the people around me, my friends, my parents, more than anything, my mentor who guided me in my initial years. And then a lot of these cricketers during the last few years who have actually encouraged me and told me that, look, you've got something. And one of the biggest compliment I remember, I think it was Heath Streak, who told me, I think, Nish, you know more about us than we know about ourselves. So,
wow. The cricketing psychiatrist. That role is still in progress. It's still to be completed. We'll come back with that as well. Nishad, it's been great talking to you. What's the blog called, if we can just advertise it?
It's not a blog, but my YouTube channel, Niche Sports, NICHE SPORTS.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Niche Sports, double and triple meaning. Very good, interesting. We're going to do what is called the AMAs, if you'll just stay with us for a few minutes. Yep. The AMAs now, of course, has all kinds of questions. So this is going to be like one of those old wickets, I think Chepauk on the 4th day in the 50s. We can't tell how the ball's going to turn or not.
Let me be
the 97. That's against Andy Roberts, huh? Oof.
Yes.
I wish I could have seen that. You sent it to me. We can't make out so on the TV as
on
much
the grainy footage. Yeah. Yes.
Anyway.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another amazing week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. So it's been a really, really fun week this week. We've had a great episode with Anand Nilakantha on Cyrus Says. Anand was one of the writers of Bahubali, and it's done some really, really fun stuff since that. Ashish Vidyarthi also had a really good episode on his show, Begin the Journey. Please do check that out. You do know Yuddha is back, right? Definitely check it out if you haven't. Yuddha is our show about Indian ancient warfare. It's hosted by Anirudh Kanisetti and Aditya Ramanathan. Really, really great show. You should check that out for sure. And I forgot, Rishikesh was on the network as well. He was on Absolutely Right with Aditi Surana. Do definitely check that out. With that, let's get you back to this show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me. Silvery is very young. Yes. You wouldn't know Vishwanath from Chepauk, but we'll try anyway. Silvery, bolo?
Yes. Okay. Going to the AMAs. The first one comes in from Vaibhav Parekh. He asks, hey, Cyrus and guest. Cyrus, just like you, I'm a huge cricket nut. For the past few months, I've been trying to get my wife to enjoy cricket too. But she just is not...
Too much.
But she just is not able to grasp the concept. I don't know what to do. I've tried to explain the rules to her, but to no avail. I need your help. What other sport can I introduce her to first to get her hooked to sports so that I can circle back to cricket later?
Yeah, see, the way I see it, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I'll try and introduce her to hockey and then from there. But I've always believed that people should not be forced. When I was young, my father used to tell me, because, he likes opera and all that. I'd be like, Dad, why don't you let other people listen? He would be like, no, opera, cricket, that's my thing. I don't want anybody to enjoy it. I just want to enjoy it for myself. So I think when they see you passionate about something, a lot of people are attracted to that. So I would say he should never tell his wife to come and watch cricket, because then there'll be unnecessary more arguments, because the chances are they like different players, different teams, and there'll be no end to it. So just do your thing, enjoy it, and just avoid trying to force the wife, terrible phrase to use, get the wife to enjoy your sport. I mean, what the hell, man? Why do you need everyone to enjoy the same thing? I just don't get it. What do you think, Nishad? What would you say?
I would say the exact same thing. Pick a partner who doesn't know anything about the sport, because half the arguments would reduce right there.
Then also I think we start getting complex and irritated. We have that Brahmanical side is dead in all of us. You look down on the person's knowledge of the game, their real passion. Like, I get very irritated if people would tell me, West Indies lost. Because I really love the West Indies team. And I would take it emotionally. You ask my mom, I wouldn't eat. Well, if the West Indies really lost in the 80s, I wouldn't eat. I just lose my mood. So then I don't want to equate with somebody else because they think I'm mad. It's not even your country. Why are you so upset? It's no point. So the way I see it, just let Jisko Jaisa philosophy prevail and don't force anyone to like things you like. I've never asked anyone to like anything I like, least of all myself. Every girl I've dated, I've said, please don't like me.
Like, I was just thinking though, what if he tries to just show her like some high intensity moments, like some very intense, like last ball pe one chakka, ek chakka chahiye jeetne ke liye.
You might as well show her Lagan then. Cricket with aptly guards. Nobody said anything. The film should have been banned. The first thing it was put on an aptly guard before you would play. Whether it's English bowling, after all, is supposed to be ferocious. Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with this forcing people. I don't understand the collective. Why does it have to be I don't enjoy watching cricket with my friends when I was young. There were a couple of them. The Nishad's category is different, but I just wouldn't. It's like racism. I would be like, no, I'll watch on my own, listen to the radio on my own. It's my own thing. You've got to be really. If I really connect with a person on cricket, it's different. But just a general person, you sort of look down. It's like the caste system. Nishad, do you ever feel that, or am I just being mean?
Well, that mean streak can be around because you want to watch cricket with a select audience. Because if someone asks you a stupid question, I think that's when you really flip.
Yeah. Like, I thought Richards was white. Things like that. Of course, Barry Richards was white, but why get into that,
Yeah.
Now, that's a joke only you and I understand, for example. Everybody's completely like, what the hell are they talking about? Who's Barry? Who's Richards? Who's the other Richards? Oh, God. All right.
All right.
Go on,
Next one.
Next one.
Yeah. Next one is comes in from Preeti Ravi Shankar. She asks, hello, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure listening to you guys during the lockdown. She says, I might have watched every recommendation that Amit has made, The Last Dance, Hamilton, etc. I love them. My question. I'm 30 Tamram from a conservative family. Oh, God.
This is not a Shadi.com. What the hell?
The question is kind of like that. I'm 30 Tamram from a conservative family. Oh, God. And stuck in life. My parents are coaxing me into getting married. Arranged marriage. I think this concept is super messed up. I'm just out of a long-distance, one-sided relationship and it ended on a bad note. Is arranged marriage the only solution? Can't I remain single and happy? I think I know Cyrus would jump in and root for this, but seriously, is staying single and happy just a myth?
Okay, here's my deal. And I'm going to say this for the last time because people aren't listening. Okay, it's very simple. If you're going to have children, please get married. Because then it makes sense. If you're not, I don't think human beings are supposed to mate for life. You're just going to cause trouble over a period of time. I think you just put stress on the relationship. So if children are definitely the thing you want and a family, then I think there should be mating and beyond that. Otherwise, I think marriage is highly overrated. And like the mammoth, it's probably had its time and, it's gone and we're just clinging to it. Having said, and religion for that matter, but I won't discuss that here on this unfortunate podcast.
You can clearly tell that Aisha is not in the room right now.
Of course. It was her idea to get married. It'll be her idea to get divorced also. I don't want to say that. That's weakness. Weakness is another issue. But, this whole arranged marriage thing, I don't have a problem with any form of marriage because I don't understand how it doesn't, in the end, become somewhat the same thing. As long as you land up dating someone, you go on seeing them, how do you land up dating someone you fall in love with? You like the person. So similarly, when you go and see an arranged match, you like the person. It starts from that basic like. You have to meet someone somewhere. So I think we set too much store on this whole process. My only worry is that if his mindset is not ready to get married or her mindset, this is male or female, I forgot.
This is female. This is her name is Preeti.
Please, female, more important. If your mindset is not there to get married, please don't get dragged into it and don't blame some stupid podcast host or his guest who does cricket or Silvery who's an upcoming comedian. I mean, really, we aren't the three pundits, the Father, Son and the Holy Ghost who have to guide you. I think marriage, just like anything else in life, which is really big, it's something that has to come only from that person. Not the mother, not the father, not the sister, just that person and the person who wants to marry whoever, just the people involved. I think it should begin and end with them. Because God, I got to tell you, being married, you're stuck with the same person for so many years. Then those friends and advisors are not there. You're stuck in the morning with the stain on the bathroom seat. You're stuck with the towel on the bed. You're stuck with the AC on or off or the curtain open or irritable about using the Wi-Fi, not using the Wi-Fi, not putting it off. So those people aren't there to solve all these problems. These small fucking problems about drive marriage is crazy. It's not about having affairs and losing your money, and those things actually people get over if they happen. I think it's the small things that just drive you to despair and you can't take it anymore. You can be same face and of course same body. I mean, that's what my wife says every time when I look at her in that, dirty Shakti Kapoor sort of way. Oh, God, same. So I'm just saying, look, don't put this on us. We cannot make this decision for this young lady. She's got to decide on her own. Nishad, what do you think? You're a little younger than me, maybe wiser.
Wiser, I don't know, because I'm still single. So it's a little bit difficult to...
This is the commentator's curse again. You don't have to play the game to understand sometimes. You can give another perspective.
Like, our final question actually with this was, is staying single and happy just a myth? Is what she's asking. Like, can you be single and happy? Nishad,
well, the Beatles said happiness is a warm gun and happiness is elusive according to all the poets and philosophers. It's something that comes and goes. So again, setting too much store on that. Nishad, what do you think?
I'm going to be a bit philosophical. I think you can be happy in either because happiness is a state of mind and it all depends on you. Doesn't depend on, whether or not you have a person in your life. And I think if you're happy, then ultimately you will attract whoever you are meant to be with.
I'll use a cricketing analogy. I personally think in all relationships, not just marriage, the person who leaves the ball alone the most, he lands up having a long test career. The ability to watch the ball, leave it, when the ball is doing things. So the same thing with relationships is how do you avoid each other? As much as you can avoid each other, you can last longer. And separate rooms, separate bathrooms, I've written in my books, which no one has read. Very important if you have the money or the wherewithal for it. Buckingham Palace, everybody is happy. She's not seen her husband in 40 years. She's still the Queen of Britain. All right? But they've got separate castles. They do everything separately, but they're still married. So I think we should just accept that in the modern world, people need a lot of space to themselves, physical and otherwise. And you've got to accept that. If you can find that zone, I think you can survive. Otherwise, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to keep... Imagine 5 guys you're in Jodhpur University or living together, fine for 2 years. Do that for 10 years. You'll go berserk, you'll kill each other. So what is the point of, 2 people living in the same room and, oh God, it's just painful. I mean, I send my wife out to look for jobs every day during lockdown. Carpentry, painting, small things like that to guide us through this period. But please tell the young lady, Hillary, from all of us that this decision must come from her. She can't put it onto my head. And then blame me later. That idiot told me to get married. I hate you. No, I didn't tell you. I didn't say anything. I said separate rooms.
Fair enough.
Right.
Hi, Cyrus and guest. Hope you all are doing great. My question to you is about superstitions. I have a 2-part question. Do you believe in superstitions? If yes, what is that weird superstition you are guilty of believing in? So, number 2, is there a funnily outlandish superstition that you have seen or heard someone following that has made you go, are you kidding me?
They're all outlandish. No one has good superstitions which everybody says, I have ridiculous ones. Like I put one green light in the hall off all the time. I put it on and off for some reason. I can't stop that. It's like a twitch. And especially when I'm going away from the room. I can't explain what the ramifications behind that philosophy is, but I do that. But I think people think that the black cat and, the usual 2-3 suspects, the ladder, don't go below it all. I think that's overdone and that's not such a big deal. I think they're all personal and everyone has their own little twitches, which we're talking about marriage and not getting along. God, these are the little things that irritate the partner the most. Let me tell you. Yeah, so I've got a couple. Yeah. Disha, what about you?
I've got one. Is that I don't do things in threes. So, for example, when I used to go for a jog, if I ran 3 rounds around the football field, I used to go for a 4th one. Because
I would have done 2. Simple maths. Why do 4 when you can do 2?
And even when
would you take 3 runs in a match?
That was fine for some reason. Because those were runs. But for some reason, the number 3 has always been a little bit of
You batted number 3?
I batted at number 4, actually.
All right. And what about a threesome?
Oh, I think let's not talk about that. It's a family show, I think.
It's a family show. I was just trying to think of all the things you'll regret later. I said, what was I thinking? Why couldn't I just have an umbrella fetish or something? Yeah. What about you, Silvery?
There's a superstition going on right now that if I leave the house, I might get corona. So just be careful.
That's just fear. That's madness. But do you have a superstition that you do?
I don't really know. I'm not really superstitious at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just I used to pray before exams, so I guess that's superstition.
You think you're singular in the whole world of food?
No, not at all.
God. Yeah, no, but I think there's some strange ones. I remember Shamak Dawar, who's such a big name. He likes to say, touch you and I swear, touch me and I swear, something like that. So he would just touch you and swear. You know, which is always really strange. Touch me and I'll swear. Have you ever got people saying things like that? They have to actually make contact. Touch wood. You have to actually touch wood. Of course, some people touch their head, trying to explain that, the irony of my brainless wood head and all that, but I don't get that either. But there's so many ridiculous ones. But in cricket, Nishad, we've had so many. I mean, look at Srikanth, for example. What is the South African guy who used to bat up? Neil
McKenzie.
Neil McKenzie, he had a few. Shivnarayan Chanderpaul, completely nuts. Sachin also, I mean, we can all do his mannerisms. They were always fixed. So many. Cricketers and superstitions, they go hand in glove, if I dare use the pun.
Even cricketers who stay in the same position if one of their teammates is batting and taking the team to victory.
Yeah. They can't leave the spot.
They can't leave the spot, yes. And that's what really shows that these guys, even though they face 150 clicks per hour on the
goes out of the window.
Logic goes out of the window at that
Joe
point.
Root doesn't want to bat at 3. He wants to bat only at 4. And then he's forced to bat at 3 because of playing the 2 all-rounders, etc., etc. So the batting positions, they were superstitious. Bowling positions, they're superstitious. Fielding positions, people are like, no, I can't field there. It's amazing.
So there was apparently a cricketer who used to not give his daughter toy ducks because he used to be scared if he gives her ducks, then the next day he would get out for one.
Oh my God, I mean, that's ridiculous. Ouch. So the poor child was deprived of toys all her life. She grew up an angry young man.
She wanted just one duck toy her entire life.
One duck. And the day her dad got out for a 0 and hadn't given her a duck, she cheered. Yeah. Abhi duck milega. Anyway, this has been awesome. Nishad, nice to talk to you and hope to get you back now for an awesome only cricket chat. All right.
Definitely, Cyrus. It's been great fun, as always, talking about my journey. I didn't expect that I'll have to talk about my journey because it's still work in progress, but thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, but we've discovered so much about yourself and you discovered so much about yourself. Better call Manjrekar and Jadeja and heal the feud. Is it healed as we say bye?
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. You want to plead the fifth on that one. We'll come back with better news soon. Till then, it's bye from Silvery, Nishad and me. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter, on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Do you have a night routine? Well, everyone has one. And the to-do list usually looks like this. Brush your teeth, set that alarm, get into your pajamas, and switch off those screens. But here's one more to add to that list. Tune into the Positively Unlimited podcast for a dose of positive action and tips on how to build powerful mindsets. Episodes out every Monday on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you tune into podcasts.
Hi guys, this is Ayushi.
And I am Ritasha.
And welcome to Agla Station Adulthood.
It's a fun podcast we've got going on and we'd love for you to tune in and enjoy with us.
Join us as we stop at various stations and discuss different topics that seem to be bothering us and hopefully
Dating,
you as well.
relationships, beauty, just being an adult, lots of different things.
We don't have a great grip on it, but we've done okay so far.
Catch Agla Station Adulthood every Thursday on the IVM app, the IVM website, or wherever else you get your podcasts.